In a year where almost 80 or so percent of the animated series released were absolute gorgeous works of art, it only makes sense that someone is not going to catch up with everything, and that someone is me. With all of these shows people are recommending to literally everyone, I can only watch so many. People are telling everyone to watch Odd Taxi and Vivi, and everyone claiming that Arcane is a masterpiece when I don't have to drive to binge it because its episodes are 40 minutes long. Have I mentioned how I absolutely hate how Netflix puts out an entire show at once, to the point where I would prefer they update a show weekly? Thank goodness I can watch Komi Can't Communicate. And then you have all the BS that's still going on with the pandemic, and there are classes. I just took my finals and the New Year's upon us, and gosh, I wish I could just sit down and watch everything all the way through. So no, I haven't seen everything, which means I can't exactly say which are the best animated series of the year, which honestly is hard enough already. But as for my personal favorites from what I have watched, well, here they are. Kid Cosmic took me by surprise earlier this year, and I was only reminded of how good it was by its second season. I love the retro comic aesthetic the animation has going for it, as well as the moments of visual gags and comedy. The characters have some incredible exchanges with each other, the story is pretty good, and I like the soundtrack a lot. And I like the narrative structure a lot, with the first season solely surrounding Kid's personal growth, and the second season follows up with Joe's journey of becoming a leader. I wonder who season 3 is going to be about. Overall, this series is an absolute ball of fun that more people should watch. Honestly, what can I say that people have not said already? Hell of a Boss is an incredibly impressive web series with great animation and characters, and you can really tell that the creators are very passionate about what they're making. The only thing I hold against it is that I think I like moments from the series rather than the show as a whole, but this series' popularity is completely justified for its sheer excellency alone. After expelling my built-up hatred for the end of Season 4 of Battle for Dream Island briefly, the third season of Inanimate Insanity is exactly what I need to revisit why I love the object show community. As this season went along, and it's still going along, the writing got sharper, the characters became more fleshed out, and the comedy became more and more enjoyable. While this can't hold a candle to Battle for Dream Island as a whole despite the terrible ending, I still greatly appreciate Adam and his team for making something particularly noteworthy. Also, did you guys know that Adam worked on Centaur World? It really shows. While Inside Job doesn't do a whole lot for me personally in terms of what it does for the adult animation scene, I can understand why it has such a large cult following, and even I'm in love with the show. I adore the animation and how fluid and fun it is, the comedy is incredible, the world building is great for a workplace sitcom, and the characters are mostly great. For as sidetracked as some of them may be, I still like them in their existing roles, but I especially like Brett and Reagan. Their chemistry is everything. They work well off each other. It's not one of my top favorites of the year, but this show is a blast to watch. The dialogue still doesn't feel natural, the action is a bit drawn out, it still needed better character work, and the emotional beats don't work that well for me. But honestly, Maya and the Three took me heavily by surprise. The story is structured and paced very effectively, I love the character designs, and for as exhaustingly long as the action scenes are, I still love them in small increments. I like some characters better than others, but I do like the exchanges they have at some times. It's not quite as enticing in comparison to some others, but it is a good time and a great watch. Yeah, ultimately I think I like Zombieland Saga better than Dragon Maid. I absolutely love the character work in this season, and I especially love the musical performances, maybe even a bit better than in the first season. The animation is still as great as always, and the story beats near the end were very intriguing and engaging. Lily is probably still my favorite out of the Franshushu members, and Yugiri finally gets not one but 2 episodes to herself. I can't exactly voice why this isn't higher on the list, but it is definitely adored by many for a reason. I kinda breezed over this one in my video on murder drones, and a lot of what I said still holds up. While this literal miniseries hasn't really aged that well due to its sudden tone whiplash final act story beats, it doesn't change the praises that I gave the series. It's pretty to look at, its dialogue is snappy and quick, and the fantastical premise is very intriguing. Plus, even the designs of the 180ing tone creatures look a little Ghibli-esque. I know I'm putting this high for a little reason, but I just want people to at least check this series out. As said, I've never been an Adventure Time expert, but Distant Lands helped me get back into the series as it was nearing its end, kinda. I still love the childhood whimsical look it's got going for it, Finn and Jake are still great main characters, and the dark atmosphere and themes in both Together Again and Wizard City are pretty, for lack of a better word, dark. Oh, and the Lich is back, he's always great to watch, and so is this. And thanks to this, I'm probably gonna rewatch the original series sometime. I've already talked about murder drones, but that one video was kind of surprisingly negative, so for the positives, the animation is beautiful and stylistic, I love how it looks and moves, the music is particularly distinct to this new series, and the characters, for as tropey as they are, do get better as the pilot goes along. A solid start to a promising series, though I can't say I'm emotionally attached to it in any way. The recent Ghost and Molly McGee's surprisingly gained a massive cult following. I can only assume it was because us Owl House fans needed a low-key holdover until it started airing again. Joke's on us now, all the series are on hiatus now. Anyway, the premise of just seeing an overly giggly extroverted teenage girl warm the heart of a curmudgeonly arrogant ghost feels very standard and cliche, but its execution makes all the difference. From how well characterized Molly and Scratch are based on their archetypes, to the painstakingly beautiful and whimsical animation, to the brilliant musical numbers, this series is just really neat. You also have the other characters like Arson Boy Daryl, Bootleg Amity Andrea, the best character Libby, and I guess the other ghost characters were fine. I'm putting this series this high just to make a statement. While others may prefer more adventurous and bombastic stories, my love for slice of life stories allowed me to enjoy this as the noteworthy Disney comfort food it is. Even if I'm still mad at that one executive that canceled Owl House, I will never get over that. And before I get into my top 10, I do want to quickly make a few honorable mentions, in no particular order. Still haven't gotten to season 2 yet, but Centaur World was a pleasant surprise. It didn't have a lot of character in it, at least not as much as I would have liked, but for what it was a pleasant watch. Long Gone Gulch also had its pilot earlier in the year, and it was a splendor to watch. I love the Western aesthetic. Villainous X isn't as good as certain others, and I found it to be a bit weaker than the first season, but I still like it for what it is, which is essentially wacky hijinks in a royal setting. Dragon Maid S hasn't aged that well, hence why it's not on the list, but I still like it because it's KyoAni. But compared to the Violet Evergarden movie, I think we can all agree that this is the weaker KyoAni work of the year. And as said, I'm still not impressed with Amphibia that much, but I totally get why it has such a massive following. Okay, now for my top 10. Well, really 12 with a few tied spots. As said in my summer ranking video, this was probably my most anticipated show of the year, and while it didn't exactly live up to my expectations, it still has a lot of merit going for it, and I did say that I prefer this to Dragon Maid S. The premise is simple and sweet as well as familiar in its story beats. An office worker who dies from exhaustion gets reincarnated as a witch goddess and decides to live a simple, quiet life free from the cruelties of life, all while making a small business on potion making. 300 years later, she's killed enough slimes to the point where she becomes the most powerful person in the world. And of course, once word gets out, every single thing in her life has to be toppled by continuous hijinks. This is certainly a low-key anime, but I have said that I absolutely love the slice of life genre, and this series is really good at that. But another significant factor of this series is its comedy. The comedic timing in this anime is on point. Every joke and hijink lands oh so well, and it is partly due to the animation technicals and its low budget presentation, while still having great expressions, funny backgrounds, and the characters going off model when it fits. But then you hear the voices. And this has some of the best voice acting and sound effects in the entire year. The Japanese version, I haven't watched it dubbed. Then you have the characters, and all of them are hilarious. On their own, they do pretty well, but it's mostly their chemistry that makes all the difference. And there are a lot of standout jokes in this. The freaking World Tree Mall gag, Small Azusa, the songs, oh my gosh, I just remembered how funny Halkura's commercial jingle was, and that last episode with the maid cafe is so cute, and the message about having a good work-life balance, and the amazing execution, and why is this anime so funny? I know this might not be a lot of people's favorites, but this certainly is one of mine, and you can only imagine how even more passionate I feel about these other upcoming entries. Okay, I honestly prefer the Egg Show to the Eternal series, but this was just done so that Killing Slimes could stay in the top 10. And honestly, it doesn't change the fact that both of these series are beautifully executed, timeless tales with unique and subversive fantasy elements about self-discovery and coming to terms with the harsh realities you find in life. Wonder Egg Priority was one of the biggest surprises of this entire year, and is currently one of my favorite horror animations of all time. It has beautiful animation reminiscent of Kyoto animation, and especially of Naoko Yamada, as well as stellar action and psychedelic imagery and designs. The backgrounds, the characters, and everything in between is simply stunning to look at. To Your Eternity is fantastic in its large-scale fantasy setting with amazing landscape shots. The locations are full of life and color, and its look gives off the feeling of those indie survival films. Not to mention, Fushi's transformations are awesome. Wonder Egg Priority is about a shut-in girl named Ai Oto who, after losing her best friend when she died of suicide, receives a mysterious egg from an unknown people, and through the help of other friends in a similar situation as her, she uses as many of these magical eggs as possible to try and bring her friend back to life. To Your Eternity is a tale about an immortal who takes the shape of anything it touches as long as it's either inanimate or, if it's a vessel, dead. And after taking the form of a nameless boy, it journeys to meet a multitude of people from a multitude of cultures as it undergoes various stages of mental development, from the road to awareness, childhood, developing years, until finally to a fully realized adult. I do think that I like To Your Eternity's story and its narrative structure overall, and I can appreciate the adventurous feel it has going for it, but Wonder Egg Priority does a bit more for me personally, poking at a mass number of subjects while also having amazing characters. And Ai is just my favorite out of all the characters from these two series, followed closely by Gugu, and honestly, I currently can't bring up any series that these two remind me of. They really are their own respectable entities, and some of the most unique and innovative series to happen this year. However, many have noted that the ending to Wonder Egg Priority, while fine in concept, could have used a lot more creativity and, more importantly, time in its execution. And I already talked about that ad nauseum, whereas Eternity doesn't do a whole lot for me personally, and the Jananda Island arc is easily the weakest one, and honestly I should have put it below Distant Lands in the summer ranking, but it has its saving grace that is its final episode, wrapping up the entire first season akin to a complete package. It just doesn't resonate with me quite as much with the Egg series. Still, it goes without saying that both of these are gorgeously animated shows that will go down as essential anime viewing and some of my personal favorites. I know that some people harp on this show's somewhat convoluted ending, as well as the kinda inconsistent writing and its story beats all throughout, but if nothing else, I really adore this series. The story is about a girl named Feina who escapes an island of unadulterated sexism, and she comes across this group of pirates who are searching for treasure. It's revealed that within her mind, through memories of her past, as well as memories of the deceased, is the key to a mass number of treasures located somewhere called Eden. While I understand if someone can't exactly get on board with the story beats and the ending, its gorgeous animation and chemistry between its characters makes this series such an amazing and enjoyable experience. The action, the environments, the settings, the magic, it's all there beautifully presented. The dialogue between our characters is brilliant. I could just watch them interact with each other forever, but I especially love Faina as the lead role. Her kind, good-hearted, optimistic nature continuously being tested is such an inspiring and admirable feat throughout the entire show. And as for the ending, while I think it could have been fleshed out a little more, I thought it was set up quite nicely with clever tidbits of foreshadowing. But other than that one detail, Faina is an amazing series and a love letter to adventure that everybody should watch. Again, remember when we were all angry that Infinity Train got cancelled? Yeah, same goes for Owl House. These might be some of the worst and sincerely heartbreaking executive decisions and show cancellations of all time, but less about that and more about Infinity Train. This series' reputation of incorporating unique and creative fantasy and sci-fi elements into its beautiful settings while having the focus be around a couple of characters going through various relatable struggles continues to reign just as strong as the previous seasons. Now focusing on the relationship between two friends bound by music, Ryan and Mingi, and their journey to work out their animosity with the help of the denizens of the train. It is bleedingly obvious that this is a prequel to the prior entries, but that doesn't change the fact that it still keeps its world building on point. It takes a close examination of life before Amelia took over, and it does feel more slice of life in its delivery through its more drama-esque lens, which I was totally on board with. And honestly, it was a bit of a feel-good time, which we all needed after the literal hell we experienced with Cult of the Conductor. As said, it is pretty evident that this is not a finale, but I am still so glad that they were able to get this out while they could. Infinity Train really does remain as one of the most remarkable series of all time. Again, we've got another tough call. Both ReZero Season 2 and Komi Season 1 are fantastic in their own right, and it's honestly kind of unfair to compare the two since both give off completely different vibes. I can't say that this string of episodes from ReZero has many particular standout moments like From Zero or Parent and Child, but I still love its story beats leading up to the end. Amelia's backstory is at least one animated highlight of the year, Subaru's character development is phenomenal, and the animation is still incredible as always. And I still love all of the characters. Admittedly, ReZero is better than Komi overall, but Season 2 Part 2 is probably one of the weaker chunks of the series. Still, it's pretty great. Komi can't communicate's premise around a girl with social anxiety being helped by the main guy sounds like it shouldn't work on the same level as it does. Komi and Tadano have such incredible chemistry with each other, I could watch them forever. I love the animation, it beautifully captures the look and feel of the manga, and the comedy is kind of amazing. Plus, it made Yamai a little less hateable than in the manga, and that deserves some respect. Honestly, my biggest issues don't have much to do with the anime itself. There are a few plot threads in the manga that go on for an unnecessarily long amount of time, and I really hope that the anime improves the dialogue or comedy in those moments, or just removes a couple of those moments. I know, that has nothing to do with the anime, but I am bracing for that low point to be brought to life. Regardless, both ReZero and Komi are such brilliant anime series that everybody needs to watch. Just in the case of ReZero, just know what you're getting yourself into. That's a message to people who aren't a fan of horror animation. And now to get to my top 5. Take notes, Crunchyroll. This is how you do representation justice. From the creators of the amazing Welcome to My Life comes a 2D-3D hybrid animated mockumentary-styled series surrounding a group of kids exploring their home, looking for people and ghosts alike to interview about their life. This is a more chill, good time slice of life show and may not be for everyone, but I was fully engaged. The animation is beautiful in its simple and mundane designs, and it just has this nice looking atmosphere in its setting, and even down to its voice acting. And apparently the stories told by the ghosts and the people are real interviews done specifically for this show. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just goes to show that if you want to represent people of different cultures, maybe you should get said people to make your thing. And that's just how it feels all throughout. City of Ghosts really is a brilliantly animated slice-of-life show, doubling as a beautiful love letter to diverse cultures and representation. People are gonna hate me for this. I'm sorry, but Non Non Biyori is such a good time, one of my favorite slice of lifes, period. The atmosphere of the setting is so relaxing and gorgeous, the depiction of the countryside is still as fantastic as ever, the characters are still really great with amazing rapport with each other, and that's kind of about it. It really is just a relaxing piece of comfort food, and honestly needs to get another season. Yeah, I guess we're still not done talking about Sunset Paradise. I've already talked about this show ad nauseum, so I won't keep you here for long. That said, I love everything about this series. The animation, the designs, the backgrounds, the soundtrack, the writing, the characters, the dialogue, the voice acting, and everything in between. Meggy is still one of my favorite characters of the year. Ori's character arc just gets better with every rewatch. The fear gas scene is still amazingly executed and is probably the best worst fear trope usage I've ever seen. I'm gonna call it, this is by far the best thing Kevin and Luke have ever done. Nothing they've made in the past decade has come close to this brilliant magnum opus of theirs. It's beautiful, it's charming, it's enticing, and I'm all for it. Great job, guys. Keep up the good work. I thought for sure that this was going to stay as the #1 best animated series of the year. But then, a certain other show just had to get really good really fast. It was incredibly difficult to think it over, and I've decided that the second season of Owl House, while still a masterpiece so far, is just not good enough to cut out for the #1 spot. Darn, and after all the Annie Award snubs too. But even then, everything about the second season so far, while not perfect, is nigh excellent. The story is so tightly written now. There is no filler to be found in any given moment, not to mention each episode is such a blast to watch with amazing highlights. While Wally and Eve will probably be my favorite couple in animation for forever, I can say that Luce and Amity are a close second. The animation is beautiful and gorgeous, the freaking Ida's Requiem scene still is a joy to watch while also being pretty devastating. The battle between Amity and Hunter is still one of my favorite moments. The Hootie episode. The Hootie episode. This really is one of the best animated series, period, and honestly, the best thing Disney has done this decade so far. I am beyond shocked. There were definitely a couple of really neat surprises this year, like Sunset Paradise and Mitchell's, but this show is something completely different. Because I expected this to be one of the best, but it turned out to be even better. Words cannot describe the sheer excellence of this brilliant and emotionally resonant show. The story follows a young girl named Kukuru Misakino as the director of a small rundown yet beloved aquarium called Gama Gama Aquarium and her efforts to keep the place from closing down. She comes across a fallen idol named Fuka Miyazawa who came to Okinawa to avoid an embarrassing pity party after her career has tanked. And Fuka becomes an attendant at the aquarium, beginning a beautiful slice-of-life adventure to keep the place alive and well. Along the way, though, they'll have to come to terms with various cruel truths about life, including melancholy lessons regarding self-discovery, facing reality, and letting go of people and places once they're gone. What starts as a poignant but not depressing and ultimately cozy and warm workplace dramedy gradually spirals into a rabbit hole of depression and heartbreak, setting up the potential of our characters through either comedy or moments of sentiment before delving deeper into their psyche and understanding what they are scared and ashamed of. This series can change from lighthearted to devastatingly bittersweet at a turn of a dime, and it never feels jarring. The characters have such amazing rapport with each other, as well as some great personal journeys, and the story knows when to take breaks with more chill moments. The dialogue does feel very natural, faltering at only a couple of places, and the technicalities are just amazing. The animation and soundtrack are highly impressive and memorable, and it does say quite a bit about sea life, albeit a bit too much later on. Still, very effective. And one highly admirable feat, it gets you to care about a location so much to the point where you might as well consider the place a character in and of itself. And ladies and gentlemen, that is something truly remarkable. It's not just that this is one of the best things to have happened this year. Aquatope on White Sand is a tried and true, beautiful testament to slice of life, nostalgia, and discovering yourself for who you really are. It's amazing, it's heartfelt, and I love it to bits. It really is one of my favorite shows of all time, and it probably deserves a video of its own. So those are my favorites for now, since I still haven't gotten to see everything, so I don't blame you if you disagree with me. These are my personal favorites after all. Anyway, tell me your favorite animated series of the year, and while you're at it, favorite animated films before I release that video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and see you next time!